The colony ship Horizon's Edge floated above Kepler 442b like a metal whale in an ocean of stars. Commander Doan stood at the bridge window and watched the sun rise over his small world. Below him, 80,000 people were waking up to another peaceful day. Farmers walked to their fields. Children ran to their schools. His wife Una was probably already at the medical center, helping the sick and the injured. This was home now. After 15 years of building, of planting, of hoping, this little planet had become everything to him. His daughter Somi had been born here. She was 9 years old, with her mother's smile and her father's stubborn heart. She wanted to be a pilot someday. She wanted to fly among the stars. Dalhan had promised to teach her. When she turned 12. He did not know that she would never reach that age. The galaxy was not empty. Humanity had learned this 50 years ago when they met the Galactic Concord. 12 alien species controlled most of known space. They were old, powerful, and proud. To them, humans were newcomers. Children playing in the Garden of Giants. The Velith Dominion was the strongest among them. Their ships were massive. Their weapons were terrible. Their pride was endless. They looked at humans the way a man looks at insects. Small, weak, unimportant. High Prelate Wrath commanded the Velith border fleet. He was a warrior who had never lost a battle. He was a commander who had never shown mercy. When human colonies spread too close to Velith space, he decided to teach them a lesson. No warning came. No message. No demand. On a quiet morning, 50 Velith warships appeared in the sky above Kepler 442b. They blocked out the sun like metal clouds. Their weapons hummed with enough power to burn cities. Dohan saw them first. His heart stopped. His blood turned cold. He grabbed the communication device and shouted orders to his crew. Sound the alarm. Begin evacuation. Get everyone to the ships. Then Wrath's voice filled every speaker on the planet. Humans, you have entered Velith territory. You have 10 hours to leave. Those who remain will die. 10 hours. 80,000 people. Not enough ships. Not enough time. Duhun worked like a machine. He organized the evacuation. He prioritized children and families. He sent transport after transport into orbit. Una called him once, her voice calm despite the chaos. Somi and I are boarding Transport 7, she said. We will see you soon. I love you, he told her. Both of you, we know. Those were the last words she ever spoke to him. 6 hours into the evacuation, High Prelate Wrath grew impatient. Perhaps he was bored. Perhaps he wanted to see humans suffer. Perhaps he simply did not care about the lives below him. He gave the order to fire. The first blast hit Transport 7 as it rose through the atmosphere. Dalhan watched from the bridge of Horizon's Edge. He saw the flash. He saw the fire. He saw the ship break apart like a toy in a giant's hand. Una, Somi. Gone in a heartbeat. He could not move. He could not breathe. He could not think. The world became a tunnel of noise and light. Around him, his crew screamed and cried and cursed. More transports died. More families burned. In 90 minutes. 47,000 humans were dead. Men, women, children, grandparents, babies, all of them guilty of nothing, except wanting a home among the stars. The survivors fled into deep space. Dohan led them, though he felt dead inside. His hands worked the controls. His voice gave the orders. But his heart was ash. Behind them, the Velith burned the colony to the ground. They destroyed the farms, the schools, the hospitals. They erased every sign that humans had ever lived there. Then they sent a message to the Galactic Concord. The human problem has been corrected. They will not trouble us again. The Concord did nothing. To them, This was a minor matter, a border dispute, a lesson taught to a younger species. They expected humans to accept it, to apologize, to promise they would stay in their place. They did not understand what they had done. On Earth, the news arrived like a hammer blow. Billions of people watched the footage. They saw the burning transports. They heard the screams. They counted the dead. 40-7,000. The number spread across every screen, every network, every world. It became a wound that would never heal. In the halls of the Sol Parliament, representatives from every human world gathered. They came from Mars and Luna, from the asteroid colonies and the distant outposts. They came with grief in their hearts and fire in their eyes. The Velith had called humans insects. They had swatted them without thought. They had expected submission, but humanity remembered its history. They remembered the wars they had fought against each other, the terrible weapons they had built, the darkness they had faced and survived. They had left that violence behind when they reached for the stars. They had chosen peace. Now, peace was no longer possible. Commander Dahun sat alone in his quarters aboard the horizon's edge. He held a photograph in his hands. Yuna smiled at him from the image. Somi made a funny face. They had taken this picture on Somi's birthday, just 3 months ago. He did not cry. He had no tears left. He had only cold emptiness and a single burning question. How many Velith would he have to kill before the pain stopped? He did not know the answer. But he was going to find out. Across human space, millions of others asked the same question. They looked at the stars with new eyes. Not with wonder, not with hope, with rage. The universe had made a terrible mistake. It had poked a sleeping beast. It had hurt its children. It had shown no mercy. Now it learned what humanity became when mercy was no longer an option. The war had not yet been declared, but in the hearts of 10 billion humans, it had already begun. The Sol Parliament building stood in the heart of New Geneva. It was a tower of glass and steel that reached toward the clouds. Inside, the greatest hall ever built by human hands waited in silence. 3,000 seats faced a central stage. Every seat was full. Admiral Yoon walked to the podium. She was 67 years old. Her hair was white. Her face was lined with decades of service. She had commanded fleets. She had negotiated treaties. She had spent her life keeping humanity safe in a dangerous galaxy. Now she looked at the faces before her. She saw grief. She saw anger. She saw the same cold fire that burned in her own chest. "You have seen the footage," she said. Her voice was steady. "You know the numbers. 47,000 dead, civilians, families, children." The hall was silent. No one moved. No one breathed. The Velith Dominion believes we are weak. The Galactic Concord believes we are harmless. They think we will cry, then submit. They think we will beg for peace at any price. She paused. Her eyes swept across the crowd. They are wrong. The representatives began to stand, one by one, row by row, until 3,000 humans were on their feet. "I am not asking for debate," Admiral Yoon continued. "I am not asking for discussion. I am asking for one thing only. Vote yes, and we go to war. Vote no, and we accept our place as prey." The vote took 11 seconds. Every representative pressed the same button. The result appeared on every screen in the hall. Yes, 3,000. No, 0. Admiral Yoon nodded once. "Then we are agreed. From this moment, the United Human Fleet is authorized to use all necessary force against the Velith Dominion and any species that supports them. May God forgive us for what we are about to do." The galaxy did not know it yet, but humanity had just declared total war. On Mars, Dr. Tay received a coded message in his underground laboratory. He was a thin man with tired eyes. He had spent 20 years building weapons that he hoped would never be used. Now the time had come. He walked to a sealed vault and pressed his hand against the scanner. The door opened with a hiss. Inside, rows of computer screens displayed the status of 300 warships. They were hidden in asteroid fields across human space. They were faster, stronger, and deadlier than anything the galaxy had ever seen. Project Thunderbolt. Humanity's secret insurance policy. Wake them up, Tay said to his assistant, a young woman named Hannah. All of them. Hannah's fingers danced across the keyboard. Across the solar system and beyond, hidden ships began to power up. Engines that had slept for years roared to life. Weapons systems completed their final tests. Crews who had trained in secret took their stations. Done, Hannah said. They will be ready in 6 days. Tay nodded. Then he opened another vault. Inside was a single device, no larger than a suitcase. It looked harmless. It was anything but the Cascade Bomb, a weapon so terrible that its creators had locked it away and sworn to never use it. One bomb could destroy a planet. One bomb could end a civilization. Should I activate it? Hannah asked. Her voice shook slightly. Not yet, Tay said. But keep it ready. If they push us too far, they will learn what extinction looks like. Across human space, the forges awakened. Factories that had built farming. G equipment now built missiles. Shipyards that had created transport vessels now created destroyers. Scientists who had studied stars now designed weapons. The transformation happened in weeks. It should have taken years. But humanity had been preparing for this moment since they first discovered they were not alone. They had hoped for peace. They had planned for war. The Galactic Concord noticed something strange. Human communications went silent. Their ambassadors left every station. Their trading ships stopped visiting alien ports. It was as if the entire species had simply vanished. The Velith were not worried. They believed the humans were hiding in fear. High Prelate Raff laughed when he received the reports. They are cowards, he said to his officers. They will spend a few months weeping, then they will come crawling back. We will demand territory. We will demand tribute. They will give us everything. His officers agreed. Humans were soft. Humans were weak. Humans did not have the stomach for real war. They could not have been more wrong. In the shadows of human space, something massive was taking shape. Admiral Yoon stood on the bridge of her new flagship, the Eternal Vigil. It was the largest warship humanity had ever built. It carried enough firepower to glass a continent. Around her, officers worked at their stations. They were young and old, men and women, from Earth and Mars and a dozen other worlds. They had all lost someone at Kepler. They all wanted revenge. Status report, Yoon said. Project Thunderbolt ships are online. Main fleet is at 90% readiness. Ground forces are trained and equipped. And our allies? None, Admiral. The Concord has warned every species against helping us. We stand alone. Yoon smiled. It was not a friendly smile. Good. We work better alone. She looked at the star map on the main screen. It showed Velith space in red, Concord territory in blue, human space in green. The green was small. The red was vast, but size did not matter. Strength did not matter. Numbers did not matter. What mattered. Fury mattered. The absolute determination to make your enemy suffer until they begged for mercy. Humans had that. The Velith did not know it yet. When do we move? Asked Captain Nari, Yoon's second in command. Soon, Yoon said. Let them think we are beaten. Let them celebrate their victory. And when they are most confident, when they believe they have nothing to fear, we will show them what humanity truly is." She turned to face her officers. Her eyes were cold and hard. "We will not fight for territory. We will not fight for resources. We will fight for our dead. Every Velith soldier who dies will be a payment for our children. Every Velith ship that burns will be justice for our families. We will not stop until they understand that attacking humanity was the worst mistake their species ever made." The officers saluted. Their faces showed no fear. Only purpose. The silence continued for 6 months. The galaxy forgot about the small human species and their dead colony. The Velith returned to their normal business. The Concord held its meetings and made its decisions. They did not notice the storm gathering in human space. They did not hear the thunder building in the darkness, but they would. Soon they would hear nothing else. Nexus Prime was the gateway to Velith space. It was a fortress station the size of a small moon. Thousands of soldiers guarded it. Hundreds of ships patrolled around it. The Velith believed it was unbreakable. They were wrong. The sensor officer on Nexus Prime was the first to notice something strange. His screen showed small dots appearing at the edge of the system. 10 dots, then 100, then 1,000. "Commander," he said, his voice shaking, "I am detecting gravity signatures. Many of them." The station commander walked to the screen. He frowned. "How many?" "Still counting, sir." The officer paused. His face went pale. 3,000. 4,000. Still counting. The commander felt his heart freeze. That was impossible. The humans did not have that many ships. No one had that many ships. Then the dots reached visual range, and the truth became clear. The human fleet emerged from hyperspace like a wave of steel. Battleships and carriers and destroyers filled the darkness. Their hulls were painted black. Their weapons were already powered. They came in perfect formation, thousands of ships moving as one. At the front of the fleet, a small fighter led the way. Lieutenant Mino sat in the cockpit, his hands steady on the controls. Behind him flew the Iron Wolves, his squadron of 20 pilots. Every single one of them had lost family at Kepler. "Iron Wolves, this is Wolf Leader," Mino said into his radio. "Remember why we are here. Remember who we are fighting for. No mercy. No retreat." "No mercy," his pilots echoed. "No retreat." The Velith commander sent an urgent message to High Prelate Wrath. Then he ordered his ships to form a defensive line. He had 200 vessels against thousands. He knew he was going to die. But he was Velith. He would not run. The battle lasted 4 hours. Minho led the first attack. His fighters swept through the Velith formation like fire through dry grass. They were faster than anything the aliens had ever seen. Their weapons punched through shields that were supposed to be invincible. One by one, the Velith ships died. They exploded in bright flowers of light. Their crews had no time to escape, no time to surrender. The humans gave them the same chance they had given the colonists of Kepler. None at all. Nexus Prime fell by midday. The station's shields collapsed under concentrated fire from 100 battleships. Human Marines stormed through the corridors, taking section after section. The Velith fought hard, but they were not prepared for enemies who did not fear death. By evening, the station was silent. The human flag flew above its command center. The first victory was complete, but Admiral Yoon was not satisfied. This was only the beginning. "Next target," she ordered. Velith Supply Depot at Grid 7, then their shipyard at Korath, then their colony at Nexus 3. "Admiral," said Captain Nari, "our forces are spread thin. Should we consolidate?" "No. We do not give them time to recover. We do not give them time to think. We hit them again and again until they cannot remember what peace feels like. The human fleet split into 5 groups. Each group attacked a different target. Each group won. In 1 week, humanity captured 12 Velith systems. They destroyed 40 military installations. They killed or captured 200,000 enemy soldiers. High Prelate Wrath received the reports with growing disbelief. This was impossible. The humans were supposed to be weak. They were supposed to be primitive. How were they doing this? He demanded reinforcement from the Galactic Concord. The other species hesitated. They had their own territories to protect. They had their own problems to solve. Why should they die for Velith pride? Send your ships, Wrath demanded, or the humans will come for you next. Finally, the Concord agreed. They assembled a combined fleet, 2,000 warships from 8 different species. It was the largest military force the galaxy had ever seen. Surely, they thought, this would be enough. Captain Nari commanded the carrier unyielding. She was 35 years old, with short black hair and eyes that missed nothing. Her ship carried 300 fighters and enough missiles to crack a planet. When the Concord fleet assembled at the border of human space, Nari was ordered to deliver a message. She broadcast on every frequency, making sure every species in the galaxy could hear. This is Captain Nari of the United Human Fleet. You attacked our colony. You killed our children. You expected us to surrender. She paused. Around her, her crew listened in silence. We do not surrender. We do not negotiate. We do not forget. You wanted war with humanity. You have it. Now you will learn what that means. She ended the transmission. The Concord commanders looked at each other with uncertainty. That voice had held no fear, no doubt, only cold, absolute promise. For the first time, some of them began to wonder if they had made a terrible mistake. The human advance continued. System after system fell. The Velith pulled back their forces, trying to create a defensive line. It did not help. The humans found every weakness. They exploited every gap. They fought with tactics that the Concord had never seen, because humanity had been fighting wars for 10,000 years. They had invented new ways to kill each other since before they learned to write. War was in their blood. War was in their bones. They had tried to leave it behind when they reached the stars. Now they remembered. Commander Dawn led the assault on Korath, the Velith shipyard. His face was calm. His orders were clear. His ship, the rebuilt Horizon's Edge, punched through enemy defenses like a knife through paper. When the shipyard fell, he stood among the wreckage and looked at the stars. Somewhere out there was Veth Prime, the Velith homeworld. Somewhere out there was High Prelate Wrath. I am coming for you, he whispered. I am coming for all of you. The galaxy was beginning to understand. This was not a war for territory. This was not a war for resources. This was revenge. Pure and absolute. And humanity would not stop until every drop of blood was paid. The Vorn Nebula stretched across 3 star systems. It was a cloud of purple and gold dust, beautiful and deadly. Radiation storms swept through it like invisible hurricanes. Ships that entered without protection never came out. Admiral Yoon chose it as the battlefield. The Concord fleet arrived first. 2,000 warships arranged themselves in perfect formation outside the nebula's edge. Grand Admiral Keth commanded from his flagship, the Pride of Velith. He was the greatest military mind in the Dominion. He had won 30 battles. He had never known defeat. He studied the nebula with careful eyes. The humans were inside, hiding in the radiation clouds. Cowards, he thought. They know they cannot win in open battle. All ships, he ordered. Enter the nebula. Hunt them down. The Concord fleet moved forward. Their shields powered up to maximum. Their weapons scanned the swirling dust. They expected to find a small human force, desperate and afraid. They found something very different. Admiral Yoon watched the enemy approach on her tactical display. The eternal vigil floated in the heart of a nebula, invisible to enemy sensors. Around her, the human fleet waited in silence. "They have entered the trap," reported Captain Nari. "Good." Yoon's voice was calm. "Wait until they are deep inside. Then close the door." The Concorde ships pushed deeper into the nebula. The radiation played tricks with their sensors. They saw ghost signals everywhere. They shot at shadows. They jumped at nothing. Then the humans started with the drones. Millions of them, no larger than a man's fist, poured out from hidden positions. They were too small to destroy with ship weapons. They were too many to avoid. They attached themselves to enemy hulls and began to eat through the metal. The Concorde ships tried to brush them off. They fired wildly. They hit each other as often as they hit the drones. Chaos spread through their formation. Then the human fighters arrived. Lieutenant Minho led the Iron Wolves through the enemy fleet like wolves through a herd of sheep. They moved too fast to track. They appeared from the dust, fired their weapons, and vanished again before the enemy could respond. "Wolf 2, on your left," Minho called out. "Got it, Wolf Leader." A Concorde destroyer exploded. Then another. Then 3 more. Grand Admiral Keth shouted orders, trying to restore formation. But his ships could not see each other. They could not communicate. The nebula's radiation blocked everything. This was Admiral Yoon's plan. She knew the Concorde relied on coordination. She knew they fought as a single unit. Take away their communication, and they became a mob. "Main fleet, engage," Yoon ordered. The human battleships emerged from the dust like ghosts. They came from every direction at once. Their weapons fired in perfect unison. They did not fight like the Concorde. They did not hold formation. Each ship moved independently, making its own decisions, finding its own targets, because humans understood something the Concorde had forgotten. War was not about rules. It was not about honor. It was about winning. And humans would do anything to win. Sergeant Heijin waited in the boarding shuttle with his squad of 30 Marines. They were strapped into their seats, weapons ready. Their target was the Pride of Velith, the enemy flagship. 30 seconds to contact, the pilot announced. Heijin looked at his soldiers. They were young, most of them. They had trained for this moment for 6 months. They knew the risks. "Remember the rules," he said. "Move fast. Shoot straight. No prisoners." "No prisoners," they echoed. The shuttle crashed through the flagship's hull. Emergency doors sealed around them. The Marines poured out into the corridor, weapons blazing. The Velith guards were not prepared. They expected space combat, not close quarters fighting. They had never faced enemies who looked them in the eyes while killing them. Heijin's squad moved through the ship like fire. They cleared corridor after corridor. They breached door after door. In 11 minutes, they reached the bridge. Grand Admiral Keth stood in the center of the room, surrounded by his officers. He held a device in his hand, the self-destruct button. "Stay back," he warned. "I will destroy this ship and everyone on it." Heijin did not hesitate. He raised his rifle and shot Keth through the chest. The Admiral fell. The device clattered from his hand. "Bridge secured," Heijin reported. "Enemy commander eliminated." The news spread through the Concorde fleet. Their greatest admiral was dead. Their flagship was captured. Their formation was shattered. Ships began to run. They fled in every direction, abandoning their allies, thinking only of survival. The humans pursued. They showed the same mercy the Velith had shown at Kepler. None. By the time the battle ended, 1,200 Concorde ships were destroyed or captured. The rest scattered across the galaxy, carrying stories of human fury to every corner of known space. Admiral Yoon stood on the bridge of the Eternal Vigil and watched the last enemy ships disappear into hyperspace. Her face showed no satisfaction, only cold determination. Casualties? She asked. 200 ships lost. 40,000 dead. She closed her eyes for a moment. 40,000 more names to remember. 40,000 more reasons to continue. Set course for Veth Prime, she ordered. It is time to end this. The human fleet gathered itself. Damaged ships were repaired or abandoned. Fresh reinforcements arrived from human space. Within a week, 4,000 warships were ready for the final assault. Commander Dohan stood on the bridge of the horizon's edge. He looked at the star map. Veth Prime was just 3 days away. The Velith homeworld. The place where High Prelate Wrath waited. He thought of Yuna. He thought of Somi. He thought of the photograph he still carried in his pocket. I am almost there, he whispered. I am almost done. But he knew the truth. The pain would never really end. The emptiness would never really fill. All he could do was make sure the Velith felt the same pain. Make sure they understood what they had taken from him. The fleet jumped to hyperspace. The stars stretched into lines of light. And humanity went to war one final time. Veth Prime was a world of iron and fire. Its cities stretched across every continent. Its factories produced weapons for the entire Dominion. 12 billion Velith called it home. They believed their homeworld was safe. They believed no enemy would ever reach it. They were wrong. The human fleet arrived at dawn. 4,000 warships emerged from hyperspace in perfect formation. They blocked out the stars like a metal storm. The people of Veth Prime looked up and saw death coming for them. The Velith home fleet rushed to defend their world. They had 500 ships left after the Battle of the Vorn Nebula. It was not enough. It was not nearly enough. Admiral Yoon gave the order to attack. The battle lasted 6 hours. The Velith fought with desperate courage. They knew what defeat meant. They threw everything they had at the human fleet. Missiles and lasers and plasma bursts filled the space around. Veth Prime. It made no difference. The human ships advanced through the fire like machines. They absorbed the damage. They returned it tenfold. One by one, the Velith defenders died. When the last enemy ship exploded, Admiral Yoon looked at the planet below. She could destroy it. She could burn every city. She could kill every man, woman, and child. But that was not why they had come. Commander Doan, she said into her communicator, the sky is clear. Begin landing operations. Doan stood on the bridge of the horizon's edge. His face was calm. His eyes were empty. He had waited for this moment for so long. Now it was finally here. All units, he ordered. Prepare for ground assault. General Siok commanded the ground forces. 500,000 human soldiers in landing craft, ready to take the enemy capital. They were not coming for territory. They were not coming for resources. They were coming for justice. The landing craft descended through the atmosphere like falling stars. The Velith anti-aircraft weapons fired without stopping. Some craft were hit. Some soldiers died. But the rest kept coming. Dohan landed in the first wave. He stepped onto Velith soil with a rifle in his hands and vengeance in his heart. Around him, his soldiers spread out through the streets. The Velith civilians fled in terror. They had never seen war on their homeworld. They had never imagined their streets filled with enemy soldiers. They ran and screamed and begged for mercy. The humans did not harm them. They were not monsters. They did not kill innocents. But they did not stop either. They pushed through the city block by block, hunting for one man, High Prelate Wrath, Raph had retreated to his palace in the center of the capital. He was surrounded by his elite guards, the best soldiers in the Dominion. He refused to surrender. He refused to run. "Let them come," he said. "I will die fighting, as a true Velith should." The assault on the palace took 3 hours. General Seok led the attack personally. Human soldiers breached the walls with explosives. They fought through the corridors with rifles and grenades. The elite guards were good, but the humans were better. When the smoke cleared, Commander Doan walked into the throne room. Raph stood in the center, alone. His guards were dead. His weapons were empty. His face showed no fear, only pride. "So," he said, "the insects have teeth after all." Dohan did not respond. He signaled to his soldiers. They grabbed Raph and forced him to his knees. "Why?" Raph asked. His voice was still arrogant, still cold. "You have won. You have destroyed our fleet. You have taken our capital. Why continue?" Dohan reached into his pocket and pulled out the photograph. He held it in front of Rath's face. Yuna's smile. Sami's laugh. A family that would never grow old together. "Because you never asked their names," Dohan said quietly. "Because to you, they were nothing. Just insects to be crushed. Just numbers on a screen." He put the photograph away. Her name was Yuna. She was a doctor. She saved lives. My daughter's name was Somi. She was 9 years old. She wanted to be a pilot. His voice cracked. Just for a moment. Then the cold returned. "You will learn every name, every face, every life you ended. You will carry them forever." The Velith Dominion surrendered unconditionally. The remaining Concord species begged for peace. They offered territory. They offered resources. They offered anything humanity wanted. Admiral Yoon addressed the galaxy from the steps of Roth's palace. Her face was tired. Her eyes were hard. Behind her, the human flag flew in the alien wind. "We came to the stars seeking knowledge," she said. "We came seeking friendship. We offered peace to everyone we met. You answered with fire and slaughter." She paused. Her voice carried to every corner of the galaxy. "Remember this day. Remember what humanity becomes when you threaten our children. We are not cruel by nature. We do not seek war. But we will become your nightmare if you force us. The next species that mistakes our kindness for weakness will not receive mercy. They will receive only fury." She looked directly into the cameras. "This is not a threat. It is a promise." The war was over. The Galactic Concord dissolved. A new assembly formed, with humanity as its founding member. Not as equals. As the species that the universe learned never to threaten. 10 years later, a memorial stood on Kepler 442b. Black stone walls held the names of 47,000 people. Families visited to remember. Children played in the gardens nearby. Life had returned to the colony. Commander Dohun came every year on the anniversary. He was old now. His hair was gray. His hands shook slightly, but his eyes were still clear. He walked to 2 names carved in the stone. Yuna, Somi. He placed flowers beneath them. "I kept my promise," he whispered. "They will never forget you. No one will ever forget." He stood there for a long time, alone with his memories. The wind blew gently across the plain. The stars shone overhead. In academies across 100 worlds. Young officers studied the human way of war. They learned the tactics. They memorized the battles. But most importantly, they learned the lesson. Humanity did not start wars, but they finished them. And the universe would never forget.